There's some empty seat in the front. I won't spit on you, I promise. I can do it also. Good morning. Good morning. How's it going? Not too bad. Still sleeping at 11 a.m.? Come on, guys. It's nearly lunchtime. It's 6 a.m. for me, so don't complain, please. My name is Frédéric Harper. I'm going to give like 10 seconds to people to come in, and we will start really soon. So, I'm a Senior Technical Evangelist at Mozilla, so what does that mean? I'm probably not the only technical evangelist here, but basically I like to say that my job is to give love to developers, really help developers being successful on the platform, working with web technologies, working with Firefox OS. So if you tweet during the presentation, please feel free to use at @fharper. And I will put those slides online on outofcomfortzone.net. This is my personal blog, sometimes in French, sometimes in English, sometimes in Frenglish. So as you see, I have that beautiful French accent when I'm speaking in English. I don't have that lovely English accent that I heard everywhere since I'm in London. So first, I want to apologize. I don't speak Java. I used to. Like when I started, I used to do some Java for 5 years. It was my technology of choice. But I learned about something called the web, called HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and mobile technology. And I just went from Java to do a lot of other stuff. So it's not that I don't like Java anymore, but I felt kind of stupid like 2 days ago when I decided to put that slide. I had to look on Google how to do a hello world because I just did not remember Java syntax. So sorry about that. That's not going to be a talk about Java. That's going to be a talk about HTML technology and basically how you can use responsive web design to really get the best out of your design. So in a galaxy not so far away, a couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember, some of you, if you're web developers, if you used to create websites, web application, or web games on the web, we were basically carrying just about one size. One computer, one type of screen. We're just dealing with desktop because we did not have a lot of those smartphones. We did not have tablets. And when we were building website, it was quite easy because we had to think about mainly one resolution. 800 by 600, 1024. So we were dealing with those resolutions, and it was not so hard for us to create websites. Today, this is another story. We have so many devices. I'm not a big fan of statistics, but there are so many statistics about how many devices will be connected really soon. And one of them, they're talking about like 20 billions, 22 billions devices that will be connected to the internet in 3-4 years. So this is crazy. If we remove like what we call the Internet of Things, so maybe devices that we won't communicate with, that we won't use to communicate to get the information on the internet, like I have my Fitbit. It's connecting over Bluetooth over my phone to send the steps that I did during a day. So I don't really interact with my Fitbit. It's just using the internet to save some data online. So if we remove those devices, we still have a lot of devices that will be connected to the internet. Think about, of course, the desktop, the laptop, smartphones. Think about tablet, phablet. Think about other devices. Like I can browse on my Kindle. The experience is not the best ever. It's not the best browser. Of course, this is e-reader. It's using e-ink, but still, I can do it. You can do this on Xbox, on PlayStation, on television. There is so many devices that are connected to the internet. And one of their common point is the browser. So let me show you probably something you already know, you're already aware, some experiences that are not that great. So because I'm in London, I choose the BBC website. Actually, I'm not going to BBC quite often, but I think they did a redesign really lately, not so long ago, and I really like the new design. It's simple, but still, this is an information site. There is a lot of information on it, and if I use a tool, I'm using Firefox here, of course, and I use the responsive design view, that's going to give me an opportunity to change the size of the screen. So if I like, if it was like looking on this website on different devices side, I can switch And what you're going to see here, and I can just remove this and do this with my browser, is that if I go on maybe the view screen of a tablet, yeah, I don't have a super good experience because I need to scroll up, scroll down. If I go on the screen size of a smartphone, again, not super good experience. And because, again, I have to scroll up, scroll down. And what is great is that you may go on an iPhone and iThing or any other devices, and they will serve you a mobile website. It's working great if they detect my device, if they know that my device exists, if they cared about that device and detected that that device existed. So they served me, they gave me a mobile experience. But what about other devices? And even when they do that, it's not the best experience ever. Because there are some websites where, as an example, the iPhone, Android also do this. They will zoom out the website. So I will have all the contents I want on my small screen. But the thing is that I will have, again, to scroll up, scroll down, zoom in, zoom out. And you know those things. You probably had those not so pleasant experiences that are not giving you the best of the website. And even when they give you a mobile website, you know when you go to the URL of the website, or the website /mobile, or the website. I was quite surprised. The Verge do the same thing. I don't know if you read The Verge. It's a really good website to get some news about IT. And I was looking on that article on my mobile. It was working great. Great setup, great layout. Is there anyone from The Verge here? No? Okay, I'm good. So, good layout, working great on the mobile. I say, oh, this is super interesting because they're talking about Nyan Cat. I'm a big fan of Nyan Cat, that annoying cat on the internet. So I said, let's send that URL, let's send that link to a friend of mine. A friend of mine received the link, opened the link, he's at work on his laptop, opened the link, bye-bye. That's it. That's the experience. Because what I sent him is the mobile.theverge.com. The website don't detect that I'm on the browser. It don't detect that I have a bigger viewport. It just served me the URL because this is a URL I sent. Of course, this is not the best experience ever. Everything is like zoom in, and I don't have the menu. I need to scroll to the bottom to finally find the menu and have the same experience I have usually. Of course, if I was not that lazy, I would be able just to remove this and have the usual experience that I would have on the website. Way better for a desktop. But it's working great for The Verge. It's not working great on any websites. There are some websites when you just try to, oh, there is that mobile or that the name of the website, and you try to remove this, and it's not working. They just send you back to the home page. Like, oh, I lost my article, and I still don't have a great experience. So you probably have a lot of those. You probably know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know which websites you use, or maybe you're not browsing that many websites. But you know, those are not great experience. Because for a news website, it may not be the end of the world. But if you have a shop online, if you're trying to sell me something, trying to sell me your services, and I don't have a great experience, and you have a competitor that gave me access to a better website, to something that is working on my device, fine, I'm good with it. And of course, that may or may not happen when you are using one of the latest devices out there. Think about Android, think about iPhone, think about Windows Phone, think about BlackBerry. Those devices are there for a long time. People that are creating websites, they tend to give a great experience on those devices. But now, as an example, I'm using Firefox OS device. This is a new device that Mozilla launched. This is kind of new, so there is many websites that just don't detect that I'm on a Firefox OS devices. So they think that I'm on Firefox on the desktop, and they give me that huge experience that make no sense for me on the smartphone. I used to work at Microsoft before, and I used to have a Windows Phone when they started to be available. Same thing. It was so new that the website did not give me great experience with that phone. So you need to think about those devices. I don't know if you saw that drawing from XKCD. It's pretty interesting. This is basically what my talk is about also, is that even if at some point you give me an experience for my mobile phone, and you say, hey, let's, instead of sending you the full website, and now nobody's listening to me, they're all reading what's on the screen. I like those slides, so I can say everything I want right now. So actually what's going to happen is that if you serve me a subset of your website because you decide to do mobile. your website.com, you may not give me really what I need. You may remove things that I need, that you decide that was not good for me. So this slide is just really interesting because if you do, it's probably happened quite often. If you go on a university website, you're going to have like the full university website with a lot of things that I don't care about. And if I go on the mobile version, that's going to be totally different. And I'm going to have a lot of things that I don't care about also. And most of the time, the only things that make sense in both versions is just the full name of the schools. And it's always hard to find the information that I'm looking for. So there is something that is called responsive web design that may help you. That would be a solution that may help you to fix those issues, to really give a great experience to many people. So there is Ethan Merkel, he coined that term a couple of years ago. Actually, it's been 4 years now. You wrote an article on a list apart. If you don't know a list apart, this is a series of, there is a lot of things called a list apart. So this is a blog on design, web topics. There is always a lot of big thinker in the industry, big people that have a lot of great talks to share about, a lot of great experience to share about. There is also a book apart. So there is a series of books really interesting. There is one on responsive web design. There is also an event apart. So I think they really like that name and they just did a lot of things. So basically this is people like Jeffrey Zellman behind those things. So he wrote an article, Ethan Merkel wrote an article 4 years ago and said, hey, I think we have the technology now to create website that's going to be responsive. Website that's going to adapt to different viewport. So what is really responsive web design? It's thinking about the user needs instead of our needs. My need as a customer may be, hey, I have an iPhone, I have an Android, I have a Windows phone. I want to be sure that we give a great experience to those devices. But maybe my users, maybe my customers don't have those devices. Maybe they have something that I did not think about. It's about adapting to various devices' capabilities instead of configuration. Let's think about what the device can do instead of the configuration of the device. And it's also help us to be future-proof to our site. So I was talking about those new phones coming out. If I'm using responsive web design, I'm going to be able to give a great experience or at least a better experience to devices that were not there when I created my website. So let me show you an example on how it should work. So I have that website that I'm using quite often. Actually, since I'm in Europe, I should really take the time to drink one of those because I'm always talking about that website. So lovely website, really simple, lovely woman that are so happy to drink her drink in the morning. So you probably know the brand. Small website, not a lot of information, quite clean. So I have that big banner on the top. I have information on the drink. They're even showing the calories, so it's pretty good, and nutrition facts. And I have some media, social media at the bottom. So nothing super exciting, but it's making the job. If I change the size of the screen, you will see at some point that the experience changed. So what it did, on the top, you have the menu. So they removed the menu. Actually, they did not remove the menu. They just put it in the bottom. And they did something else. So they put the icon is smaller. The banner is smaller. They put two new buttons that could be useful if I'm on a smartphone. How can I find my preferred beverage? Where can I find it? Or I really need to drink it right now. I want to buy it online. I can do this. And they changed the UI of the page. So instead of having 2 columns, they went to 1 column. And no matter which kind of devices that I'm using, I will always have a good experience. And all the information is there. So they removed nothing. They just changed the UI to adapt to different screen size. So this is one of the good examples you can see on the web. And I can tell you that if you did not know about responsive design yet, and I hope you did not know because you won't learn anything in that presentation if you're here, but if you did not know about responsive web design, what you're going to do right after, or even during the presentation with your laptop, you're going to do this with your browser all the time, changing the size of your browser to see if websites are responsive or not, to see what are the kind of UI that those people are offering you on different devices. I told you, it's pretty addictive. You're going to start to do this on every website. So what is the secret sauce behind responsive web design? You need a flexible grid-based layout. You need flexible images and media. and you need something called media queries. So what about the flexible grid-based layout? So what's the problem? You saw that websites that are not responsive are not really fun. It does not give me a good experience. I'm really not a happy customers. I'm not a happy users. I don't like to drag and drop. I don't like to scroll down and scroll up. I'm a lazy person. I don't like to be able to have to change the URL to be sure that I'm going to have a great experience. Most of the time, it's caused because people use fixed width. And again, it does not give me the best experience. And I'm not thinking about new platforms when I'm making something fixed. Right now, I show you I'm working a lot with Firefox OS, so part of my job is to help developers being successful in the platform. So I help developers that have web application, web games, to move their game to Firefox OS, actually to port their game to Firefox OS. And it should be pretty easy. If it's working on a browser, that should work on Firefox OS. You just have to have a manifest file. This is basically a JSON file with all the information to make your application work on Firefox OS. But it's not working most of the time. For the only reason that those people, they use, those developer, they use fixed width. So when they go on the smaller screen compared to the browser, it's not working. So I have your game where I have to scroll, I have your application where I have to zoom in, zoom out. Again, it does not give them a great experience. So by using responsive web design, you're going to be able to think about new platforms. So the people, the developers that use responsive, that created their application, their game using responsive, it's really easy to port this to Firefox OS or any other platform using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So the first things we need to do, we need to go from pixels to EM. And this is what we're going to do for the next 30 minutes. People are kind of afraid. Yeah, maybe I have time to go to another session. It's not true. The algorithm is pretty simple. So we're going to take the target, divide this by the context, and that's going to give us the result. So let's see something more concrete. I have this H1 on top. It's an H1. The title is Responsive Web Design. Inside my H1, I have a link called Read More. So if you want to read more on responsive web design, click this. So I remove every CSS that I need to do the round corner. I just keep the size. So I have my H1. So basically, the font size is 24 pixels. It's what I put. I wanted a really big, huge H1. So this is my target. I want to have an H1 that's going to be 24 pixels. The context of my H1 right now, because my H1 is in my body, that's going to be the default value of the H1 usually in the browser. It's usually 16, so this one is a little bit more tricky. But my context is 16, so I'm going to do 24 divided by 16. So that's going to give me 1.5, and that's going to be the new value of my H1. That's going to be H1. My new font size is going to be 1.5 EM. Something a little more concrete, my link inside my H1. So my font size was 11 pixels. This is what I did before creating a responsive website. I just said, hey, 11 pixels seems good on my screen. That will be good on every screen. Not true. So now I want to change this to EM. So what I'm going to do, my target is 11 pixels. My context now, because my link is inside my H1, my context is my H1. My H1 was 24 pixels, so I'm going to do 11 divided by 24. That's going to give me a big-ass number, like 0.45833333333. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to put my new font size, and I'm going to put my number there. So there is no plus. And actually, there's an error in my code, but there is no plus. It's just to show you that you don't have to round those numbers by yourself. Just put the long number with all the numbers after the point, all the decimals. You're going to be good. The browser will do the calculation for you, and you're going to have something that's going to be more precise. I want to do this also with the grid. I want to move from pixels to percentage. So if you think about that web page that you may see quite often, this is a design that we do quite often when we think about web page, mostly blog. So I have my body here. I have a div that we'll call page. Inside my page, I have another div that is a blog. So that's going to be my container for all my blog content. Inside of this, I'm going to have a main, another div, a main. And that's going to have all my content also. So all my blog posts will probably be like this. And I also have another div that's going to be other. for ads, for comments, or whatever you want. This is my web page. So if you think about that web page, I just kept the size of those CSS. So I have my page. My width was 960 pixels. I have my blog, 900 pixels. My main is 566 pixels, and the other is 331 pixels. So what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to take my context, and I'm going to divide this. So I'm going to take my width, 960 pixels. What I did is that when I was creating that page, I had my resolution to 1000 or 1024. So that's going to be my context. I'm going to do the division for all those numbers. So same thing for blog. Because blog is inside my page, I'm going to take its actual width of 900 pixels. I'm going to divide this by 960. I'm going to do this for the main also. So the main is inside the blog, so you're following. Yeah, main is inside the blog. So again, I'm going to do 560 divided by 900. Same thing for other, still inside the blog element, the blog div. So I'm going to do 331 divided by 900. That's going to give me something like this in person. My width is going to be, for my page now, 93.75%. I can round that number if I want, but I thought that it was more beautiful with the 0.75%. I can do the same with my blog. And you will understand that at some point it's hard to follow up what you did before to came with those percentage. And you probably know, like if you left a project for a couple of days or week, of months or years, to come back to those things is not always easy. So if you want to adjust just a little bit the blog element or any other element, that's going to be hard to say, hey, where did I take that 93.75%? So what I usually do, I usually put the number that I came in before in comments, so to be sure that it's going to be easier for me to remember what were those numbers. I'm going to do the same thing for main. Again, there's no plus. It's just because 560 divided by 900 give me 62.888887 something. So I will just put all the numbers there. If you want a cleaner code, of course, you can round those numbers. But if you put it there, the browser will take care of it. It will do the job for you, and it's pretty fast. You won't see any downtime in your page loading time. So I'm going to do the same thing for everything. So I went from a grid that was fixed to a grid that adapts to different screen size. Of course, there's other things to think about, but at least all my element, all my div that were in the page, my footer, my header, everything that I have, every container that I have on my page will be flexible, will adapt to different screen size. Because if I get back to that one, it's pretty good until I reach the 1024 pixels. After this, it's going to start to not give a great experience to my user. User will have to scroll up, scroll down again. So by doing that percentage, I'm going to be able to change the screen size. Of course, the goal is not to be able to change the size of your browser. The goal is to be able to have a great experience no matter the devices. Even if you're on a tablet or a different resolution on your laptop, if you're on a smartphone, you're going to have a great experience no matter the platform or no matter the device that you use. So that was the first thing to think about when you think about responsive web design. The second thing is to have flexible images and media. So the solution is simple. I only have to put a max width to 100%. What you're going to see is that all images that I have in my page, if you change the size of the viewport, if you run this on another devices that is smaller than when you created the website, the image will adjust. Of course, this is not the best thing ever, because if I put those high-resolution picture in my web page, that's going to work on my small smartphone. But I'm going to have to download all that big resolution, maybe that 4, 5, 6 megabyte image picture. That's not going to be the best experience, but at least that's going to be responsive. And there is something else that are coming really soon, but I'm going to talk more about it later because I need to introduce CSS MediaQueries before. So MediaQueries, how many of you know what is MediaQueries? So this is one of my preferred feature in CSS3. I really like this. This is basically having if statements in your CSS. See it like this. So not so long ago, we were able to define media type. Is it screen? Is it for printing? So we were able to serve different CSS to the browser depending on what we wanted to do. But it was not totally easy to respond to the user display. We had some ways to do this by using some JavaScript, and it was not totally easy to do this. It was a lot of work, and we did not spend too much time to think about mobile devices. Most of the time it was like, hey, is it a screen, is it a print? And if I want to print, I will just probably remove my background and all the color that will take too much ink. But still, that's going to be the kind of same of website. And those were mostly the two media type that I had to work about. Right now, we have something called MediaQueries. This is basically a module from CSS that specifies methods to enable web developers to scope a style sheet to a set of precise device capabilities. And I should put device capabilities in bold because it's really about what the device can do. So, as I told you, it's kind of having if statements in your CSS. So this is a sample example. So what I can do right now, I put this in my CSS file. And that's basically saying if the media type is a screen, and the maximum width is 600 pixels, please put the font size to 80% of what they were before. There are other examples, so I put other queries. I can do a combination of more queries. So I can say, hey, if the media type is screen and the minimum width is 320 and the maximum width is 480, please do this. Run that code, execute that code. I can do if the media is not print and the maximum width is 600 pixels, please do this. So there is a many combination that I can do. And as I said, this is basically like adding if in your CSS. So really useful if you want to show different UI depending on the screen size, depending on the type of media. I can also declare those things. So I can do an import statement. And basically, I'm going to say, hey, if the maximum width is 600 pixels, execute mq.css. Same things, I can do a link, and I'm going to be able to do the same thing, adding media queries to those. So there are many properties that I can use in those media queries. Think about color index, resolution, aspect ratio, device 8, width, min-max width, and 8. So those are basically the ones that you will use the most. The min-max width, the min-max age, the orientation. So this is why I've shown you some example with those things. But those are basically the media properties you will use the most when you're going to build your responsive design site. So let me show you the little P bakery. I'm in Europe now. There's so many bakery everywhere. It's not good for me. So this is my website. You can go online. This is an example from the book Stunning CSS3 that has been published a couple of years ago, but still a great reference when it comes to CSS3. I really like that example because it's kind of a business example, and there's a lot of pastry, so I like that example for that. But you can also go in the code. It's really easy to read. It's good. It's good if you want to see how it's working. So sample website, I have the logo to the left, I have a search bar, I have some information, my menu to the left. You usually have that div on the side with all the other stuff like email, newsletter, and there is like the Mother's Day special. Actually, that should be the Father's Day special because it's coming soon. I have some pictures of what I can buy, about page, so you know, kind of website that you see quite often when you go to buy something online, when you go to find information about a local shop. So again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to resize this. Again, it's not about like being able to resize the browser on your computer. It's really to show you how it will work on different screen sizes. So if I go to something like a tablet, you know, because now I have a flexible layout, everything is moved. I'm not stuck with a maximum width somewhere. So she used a flexible layout to do this. So again, nothing really changed. Everything is more squeezed, but still great experience. If I change and I go, on a mobile site, or at some point, look at the menu at the top. Actually, look at the menu at the left. It's going to be there soon. I have the menu at the left, so I forgot to show you this. But at some point, should just put the menu to the left and put it to the top because it was taking space. Does not make sense anymore for her to do this. She prefer to have it in the top. I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do. And if you go down here, we're going to see that at some point, she's going to move from 3 columns to 1 column. So she just move the information on the website to still give me a great experience and I have everything I need. and you're going to see that she will also go with smaller images at some point. So again, if I go on something that would be like a smartphone, yes, I have to scroll up, scroll down, but it's really less annoying than having to zoom in, zoom out, scroll left, scroll right, scroll up, scroll down, trying to find my information. So way more easy like this. I still have all the information I want, and she also think about what could be a great experience for the user. If I have to scroll to all that page, maybe the search button should be on the top. This is a good thing to do. I have my menu also, not taking too much space, the basic information that I was looking for, and everything is there. So she just moved the menu that she had to the right to the bottom. She just changed the menu item to put it on the top, and it's working great. It's a great experience like this. And if we look at the code, and we go on the style editor, let me put this bigger. So she did something that I don't suggest. She put the CSS directly in the HTML, but it's just for a demo purpose. It's easier to get that example in the book, but also on a file if you want to download this. So you have typical CSS there. Is the code big enough for people in the back? Yes, those are not sleeping. Is it big enough? So at some point, where is it? So I have MediaQueries there. So what she did, she used MediaQueries to be sure that her website will be displayed in a good way, in different size. So what you're going to do, what she done here, she said, okay, if the media is screen and the minimum width is 1200, please do this, execute this. And she put some specific code with some vendor prefix that I don't like, but she put those code there, and same thing she did, okay, if it goes smaller, and I'm just looking at a guy taking a picture on the floor, and like, having a good time? Yeah? Yeah, me too. Cool. My name is Fred. Nice to meet you. So, sorry. If the media type is screen and the maximum width is 760 pixels, please change a little bit the navigation. So she put the navigation from the left to the top, and she did a lot of interesting things. So you can go look at the code yourself, and it's working great. It's a great example of what you can do with MediaQueries. So what about the whole browser? Because we always have to care about the whole browser at some point, unless you do some graceful degradation. That could be a way to do this, or just serving the full website if you are using whole browser. So if you think about like old version of IE as an example, there is, if you go on the Modernizer website, so this is a great library to do feature detection. They have a great documentation about some polyfill that you can use to be sure that your MediaQuery is going to work in old browser. So I used to suggest to use the CSS3 MediaQueries.js, but I just saw recently that you don't have any download link. So just go there. There's a lot of those, and choose the one that makes sense for you if you have to support old browser and if it's what you want to do. So I was talking about responsive images before, and I said, hey, you can just use the max width. That's going to work, but that's not going to be the best experience, because when you think about smaller devices also, we're quite lucky. Most of the places, at least for me in North America, most of the places in Europe, we have kind of inexpensive data when it comes to smartphone. We have good internet connection at home, and it's kind of okay. I don't really care if I'm downloading a really huge image on my phone and it's just showing me like this because I have a small screen. I have a big data plan. And actually this is pretty good, because when I brought my data plan for when I just landed in London, it gave me unlimited data for 2 weeks. So I'm a happy man now. But again, it's not like this everywhere. There are some places where it costs a lot. There are some places where they need to be offline most of the time because they can't afford those great internet connections. So that could be great for them. That could be great for people who have slowest connection, to give them different version of the images. So there is the responsive image group at the W3C. They are creating something called a picture element. And this is basically using a mix of media queries inside of image element. So what you're going to do now, you're going to declare source, and you're going to say, okay, if my minimum width is 40 EM, please use big.jpg. You can also specify the pixel ratio. So if you go on devices like the MacBook iPhone with the super duper screen quality, how did you call this? The Retina display. So you have different pixel ratio depending on the devices. You can also manage this, and you will be also able to have a fallback. So if it's not going to those media queries, or maybe if picture is not just supported, that's going to be a little bit like the video tag where you were able to have the video and have a fallback to a flash object, so you can still display your video on browser that we're not supporting the video tag. So it's a little bit the same thing. The only thing with that picture element is that this is super cool, but it's not there yet. So when you think about the browsers, actually Chrome, I think it's available in Chrome Canary. So the nightly build, it's available, or we're working on it on the nightly build of Firefox. It's not available on Safari, and we have no news about it, as long as I know. And when it comes to IE, they did not decide yet if they're going to support it or not. I'm pretty sure they're going to support it, but it's not there yet. They just launched a great website about something like caniuse.com, but for all the browser also, and with a specific approach for IE, and they just said on their website that it's not there yet. But still, that could be interesting. And if you're thinking about old browser or browser that does not support the picture element, and right now it's mostly all the browser does not support it, you also have a polyfill called the picture fill. So this is a responsive image polyfill. It's made with the people at W3C in the Filament group. Those guys are pretty amazing, because the last time I did that talk, the picture element was not as good as it is now. And they also had previously a JavaScript library where they were using JavaScript and cookies to be able to serve you different images. It was pretty good. This one is really about a picture element, so you can start to use the picture element right now and use that JavaScript library. And by putting the JavaScript file on your website, the JavaScript file will do the work of telling the browser what is the picture element. So serving the right thing, and like any polyfill, that will kind of emulate the function that is not available in the browser. So you can start to use those picture elements by using the picture fill polyfill. So there are common patterns when you go from a full screen website to smaller devices. There's this guy, Luke, I never know how to say his last name, Wroblewski. So let's call him Luke W. He do a lot of things around mobile first. You do a lot of things around responsive web design. You do a lot of great blog posts. Really long, interesting technical blog posts with a lot of information about how to manage this, what is the impact, what is the kind of layout that you can do. So I took a couple of pictures on his blog post because I think it's really great. So when you think about your full website, that was working in a browser, on a desktop, on a big screen, and you want to make it responsive, what can you do? How do you manage all the UI? How do you manage the experience from the user? So there is one way to do this. There is the mostly fluid websites. So in that example, I have like part 3 div, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put one div under the other one when the screen is going to go smaller. I have the column drop. Again, if I have like 3 columns, I may have like my menu to the left, my main content, and my heads to the right. Again, what I'm going to do at some point, I'm just going to drop one column by one column, and instead of having to scroll from left to right, I'm going to have to scroll from top to down. Again, that's going to be a way better experience than having to zoom in, zoom out on those devices. There's the layout shifter. So again, you can manage the layout as you want. So if I add like one div and two, one on top of the other, I can just at some point decided to remove the left one and put it under the 2 others to give me the same kind of layout that I had before with the other kind of layout. And of course, you can do just teeny tweaks. Maybe that makes sense. If you go to my website, I still have so many things to fix. I just don't have the time, so I'm not so proud about the UI on the smartphone, but still it's responsive. And the only thing I do is that I don't manage to move all those big part of my website. I just do some teeny tweaks to be sure that you're going to have a great experience on smartphone, but that won't change the UI so much. So the menu will still be at the same place, my blog post will still be at the same place, but that's going to work well on a smartphone. If you are looking for other ways, other layouts, if you want to see how other websites are doing it, you can go on MediaQueries. I think the website is in the resource list in my presentation, but I think it's MediaQuery.es. And this is a pretty good website because they are just checking the web, and once in a while when they find a great example, they just put the example in that website. They get a screenshot on 4 different views with 4 different view sizes, but you have also the link so you can click on it and go to the website and test it and try it and just get your creative juice flowing with those websites. That's going to give you an idea how you can implement this to the website or the web application for your customers or your own website if you want. So there are some other resources that are pretty great. There are the people from Twitter here. If you want, they probably know a lot about Bootstrap. This is one of probably of the most used framework when it comes to responsive web design. It's easier to create a website using a framework. You have some downsides when you use some framework. You want to be sure that that framework will be managed, will be maintained for a couple of months and years, because there is one thing that I don't like with the web is that we have so many frameworks that just are new framework every week. But sometimes those frameworks are not maintained after like 2-3 months. So what is great with Bootstrap is that Twitter is behind and they're using it. So you're pretty sure that that framework will be alive for at least a little more. So great framework, Bootstrap. Use it if you want. There's that book, the Responsive Web Design book from Ethan Marcotte himself. So this is available at A Book Apart. I don't get any money if you buy that book. It's just because I really like that series of books. Just go there. Really great books for the designer, web developers. Always well written, not huge book, always around like 200 pages. But it's always made by the people that coined some philosophy, the people that are the expert on some topics. So you have pretty good books on that series, but there is the Responsive Web Design book. I basically base my talk on that book, so a really great book. There is the Responsive Image Community Group. This is something that I'm following so closely. It's probably one of the best websites from one of the group at the W3C, because all the others are documentation about the specs. And if you already try to read those documentation, it's pretty good if you want to sleep before night. This is not made for developers, it's made for vendor people that are implementing those standards. But still, this website's pretty good. That's going to give you a great idea on how the picture element is working, what I've shown you. You can learn more about also the SRC set and some new attributes like the size attributes to create a responsive image, and have more information about when that's going to be available. Some resources, again, the links from the things that I talk. Don't need to write those down. I'm going to put the slides on my blog probably today, worst case tomorrow. So I would finish my talk with be responsible or be responsive. And at the end, you need to think about a couple of things. Responsive web design is pretty great. I really like it. It's a great philosophy. It's a great technique to be sure that your website, your design, is gonna be beautiful on many devices, on different devices. That's gonna give a great experience to your user. But maybe it's not for all websites. Maybe it's not for all web application. Maybe it's not for everything you put in a browser. I'm thinking about line of business application. Maybe that does not make sense to run on a smartphone. Maybe I don't have enough space to do whatever I want. So maybe it's not the case. Maybe you don't have to use responsive web design. Do we start with mobile first? This is another philosophy. This is another technique. I won't take another 45 minutes to talk about mobile first, but actually this is a good thing also. It may be good for you or not, and the idea is really to start with the mobile. So do I start my design thinking about the mobile, and after this thinking about bigger screen? So that could be a way to start your site responsive, so going on the other way than going from the bigger screen to the smaller screen when we're it's something we're used to do usually. Do we think about adaptive website instead of responsive web design? So there's a couple of people that say, hey, responsive web design, really great, but at the same time, not so great. So we talked about something called adaptive web design. And instead of using MediaQueries to change the UI depending on the screen size of the viewport, what I'm going to do, I'm going to detect on the server side what is the device, what is the screen size, and I'm going to push different version of my website. So a little bit what people do most of the time by sending you to the mobile version of the website. You can do this. It's kind of a variation of responsive web design. Some people prefer one, some people prefer the other. Maybe you can think about a mix of those. So you need to think about this also. Do we need to do visual component for every devices? You saw that little P bakery. She basically did something for kind of usually the desktop to most of the tablets and most of the smartphone. Some people will do things really specific. I want my website to be super beautiful on the latest Android devices. I want my website to be super beautiful on the latest iPad. And people will think about those resolutions specifically. Do I need a visual aspect of my website to every devices? Maybe, maybe not. It depends what you want to do. In my case, in the case of my website, I basically did visual, like I reorganized my website to fit mainly on most tablets, mainly on most smartphones. So you won't have the perfect, super perfect experience on every devices. But I had less, it took me less time to do this, and it's working pretty well on many devices. Instead of me just having a fixed layout, that's not going to work well on those devices. And when we think about smaller devices, when we think about tablet, even when we think about smartphones, we need to keep in mind that smartphone is not just about me walking to somewhere, me walking from the hotel to the conference room. Most of the time, we use smartphone, even not when we're not moving. Sometimes I'm going to watch TV, I'm on the sofa, I'm just too lazy to go to my office that is like 3 steps away to take my laptop. I have my smartphone, I want to see, hey, who is that actor in that movie? So do I need that, in that case, do I need a smaller experience? Do I need an experience that won't have all the components I usually have on the big version of the website? So you need to think about those things. Last but not least, I told you, I work with Firefox OS, I work at Mozilla. So if you have a web application or a game you would like to port on Firefox OS, please let me know my information to contact me. My contact information will be on the last slide. I'm going to be there to help you, give you some advice. That could be a good way for you to reach a new audience. So before taking some question, last but not least, fharper@mozilla.com. I have some business cards for people that don't like to write those down or take pictures. Feel free to send me an email if you have any question about responsive web design, about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, anything around web technology, anything around Firefox OS. I'm there to help. I'm not there to do technical support, but I'm always happy to help if you have any question related to web technology. Hand me on Twitter, LinkedIn. It's always good to be connected. I'm a social person on Twitter, fharper. If you have some time, go on the Axe blog, axe.mozilla.com. This is not about promoting stuff. This is really about web technology. So a lot of technical blog posts around HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Firefox for Android, Firefox OS, what the good things that Chrome are doing, what the good things that Hi are doing, things that are coming to the specs. Really good blog. And last but not least, I will put that presentation online on my blog. So that's going to be on outofcomfortzone.net. So you're going to have the slides there, and of course you're going to put the recording on Parlays. So I have 2 minutes. If you have any question, comment, insults, I'm there. If we don't have more time after, I'm going to be outside to take more questions. Before you leave, be sure to push those comment, like those voting system. And because you all like my talks, you're going to take the smallest one. No, if you didn't like my talk, choose the right one. But thanks for your time, and I have 2 minutes left for questions, if you have any. Don't be shy. There's always people that have questions, but like, oh, I don't want to be the first one. Okay, I'm going to be the first one. So I put my London shirt. Do you know which series it comes from? Everybody Lies. House, yeah, I'm a big fan. I was looking to find that guy. I didn't find him in London yet. So this is one of my plans this weekend to hunt down Hugh Laurie. So, if someone would like to ask the second question. I already did last. Come on, guys. I was so shy to ask my first question. Go ahead. No? No question? It was so clear you understood everything? Or you just don't care about the responsive web design? Yeah, maybe it's the latest. Do you think that you will use this in your website, web project, web application? Yeah? Okay, at least I did my job. So thanks a lot. Thanks for your time. Have a good rest of the conference.